our first step in working on our Weaving Wonderland project is to take whatever color you don't want to see a lot. I mean, you'll still see it, but not a ton. And I'm going to this insert right here. I'm going to put the tape in, or not this, put the thread inside, or the piece of yarn. Then I get a piece of tape, duct tape, sewing tape, painter's tape, scotch tape, masking tape. Doesn't matter what kind of tape you use. And I am going to attach it right there. Okay, now that my yarn is secured with a piece of tape, I'm going to flip over my board. And you see how it's kind of coming out through this insert here, or the same insert. Now you're going to put it directly up to the front, flip, and it's going to look diagonal, but that's okay, and then flip to the next one. And turn it back over and flip here. I'll do more of an aerial view so you can see a little better. Okie doke, so now I'm about to put my yarn through my last slit here. Oops. It's hard to video record and weave at the same time. Okay, and now you're probably wondering, well, what is she going to do with this piece? Well, first I'm going to cut it. And then I will get a piece of tape and tape it to the board, just like how I taped this piece over here. Before we start our actual weaving on the board, which is the most fun part, we need to get a pencil that you have lying around the house. This is going to serve, oftentimes weavers like to use a needle to help them guide them through. It's easier than using your fingers, but a pencil is safer and it works just as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the thread that you're going to use to weave at the front or the beginning piece. You're first going to wrap around 1, 2, 3 or 4 times. And then Oops, I gotta save it. And you can have an adult help you with this at home too, because it can be a little tricky. Okay, so now you wrapped it around 4 times, and then I'm going to tie a nice solid knot. And I wrapped it around 3 or 4 times because that way it'll guarantee that, there we go, perfect, that it's not going to move around while I weave, because that would just make things. So I just did 1 knot. I'm going to do a second one, and maybe even a third one. I don't know if I'm going to do a third one. We'll see. I'll test it. Okay, I am going to do a third one, because that moved pretty easily. And my thread, I noticed that I'm using, breaks really easy, so please be gentle when you're doing this, or else you will get frustrated. One more knot. Okay. There we go. All right. Now I have a good guide to help me weave. So the way we're going to weave is we follow an under-over pattern. So oftentimes when I weave at camp, I always remember the words under, over, under, over, under, over. So this is, and make sure that you're on the warp side before you begin. You do not want to be on this diagonal side. You want to be on the warp side, going up and down. Now, we're going to start to weave the weft, which this is the warp up and down. Weft is side to side. So again, remembering the words under, over, I'm going to go under my first Make sure I get that knot through there. Perfect. Over, under. Just moving my camera to the side. Over, under, over, and the last one is under. Now I have my ball of thread next to me on the side. You can do the same thing. Look at this, I'm having a little trouble, so make sure that you get that knot underneath, and then you will be good to go. You can hold on to it on the pencil too, that helps a lot. Oops, can't see that. I'm holding on to it on the pencil as I pull it through. And now I can go back. I'm going to push it down to the side. Push it down, push it down, push it down. Now I'm going to check to make sure that I did under, over. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Perfect. Okay, so now our next step is we have to weft to the left. So what we're going to do, as you can see, we ended on under. So we're going to do the opposite and start on over. So we're going to go over, under. Sorry, this is really hard to videotape and weave at the same time. Okay. So that we did over, under again. It's okay if it slides to the end of the pencil, that's probably just as good. Okay, now I'm going to go, oops, sorry. So I did my over, under, over, under, over, under right here. Make sure I go under here. And we end as over. What I like to do is kind of make sure that I push it down as I go, because that'll give you a nice tight look. And I forgot to mention this, but as you weave, you have to make sure that you pull all your yarn through. So I will try to show you what I'm talking about. We shall see if it'll work. But notice I am just going to be, oops, and it broke. But that's okay. I still have plenty of yarn to use. Make sure as you pull that you don't get, and make sure you pull gently, unlike what I did, because that's the reason why it broke. Sorry, the filming isn't the best. I wish I had a camera assistant. Okay, almost done pulling this through. Okay, perfect. So now I'm kind of gonna straighten that out and push it down. Once you get the hang of it, oops, you can't see, but I'm currently pushing all it down. And here is my piece at the end, start and ends on the pencil. So I'm going to keep weaving through and show you what's going on. Okay, when you feel like you have weaved enough and you have a pretty full piece, you are first going to cut what you have left, and then you're going to Notice I am pulling it through here. So I looped it under and over, and then I'm just gonna tie a knot with this piece right here. So you'll do the same thing to your piece at the front as well. You'll just pull it through and tie a knot. One knot should be good enough. You'll make sure it's nice and tight. Perfect. And you can cut any remainder you have off. Voila. Next, we're going to take our pieces of tape off. It's okay if some of the cardboard comes off. It's yours. You're not returning it. Okay, my tape is off, and I'm going to cut in the middle. Oops. Going down. So I'm cutting in the middle, going down. Then I'm gonna flip it over, and you are going to tie. Oops, it'd probably be easier if I showed this one. You're gonna tie every two pieces together. So I'm probably gonna tie it maybe 2 times. Maybe 2 times. 1. 2. Yeah, 2 is good. Then you kind of have this little, if the hanging things bother you, you can just snip them to whatever you want. But this is the easiest way to make sure that your weaving stays together. And you would tie whatever 2 you have, tie these 2 together, and then you'll have to tie 3 at one point. So at the end here, so I have 2 right here, I just tied those. 2 right here I'm going to tie, and I'm going to tie these 3 together. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to take 2 to the left, 1 to the right, or that might be flipped depending on if I flip this angle once I'm done with this video. But you want 2 in one hand and 1 in the other, and then you'll just need to tie it twice. And then that'll make sure, and then once you're done tying all your knots, you can kind of revert it back to how you want it to look. And then this is how my weaving turned out. I have some long ends, so I just trimmed each of them, and that is the final product.